Here's Leanna. Here's Leanna. Hello. So I'm making this video to talk about how me and my husband have gone about trying to go from co-sleeping to the crib with my 6-month-old daughter, Leia. We didn't want to do cry it out, so that was never really an option for us. It wasn't completely off the table, but it was more like a last resort, I guess. We just weren't comfortable with it. I know that it works for a lot of people. In fact, our pediatrician recommended it, and I know people who said it's quick and, you know, works really well and everything, and I think that's great. It's just not for us because it's such a drastic change. Instead of going from a bassinet to the crib, she's going from sleeping right in between us to in a different room in a crib. So it's a pretty big change, and it just doesn't feel right. Didn't feel right to me doing the cried out method. I feel like if she's crying, it's because she's scared and confused and doesn't know why she's alone and in this strange place. And, you know, that's not her fault. And so it just doesn't seem right to leave her in there and let her cry it out. So to start, we, you know, tried to look up some different methods. First, we set a date that we wanted to start on so that we would know the date that we're starting, and we would, you know, be able to stick to it and really we didn't want it to be too up in the air or like making the decision at the last minute. So we figured out what we were gonna do, and we set the date, and the date was Friday. So this past Friday night, we did our normal bedtime routine, which for us is starts with either a bath if it's a bath night, or just going straight to clean diaper, lotion, pajamas, and then we do story time for a while, and then and this is all in the nursery that we do this, and then we turn off the lights, turn on her night light, which is one of those, like, it's a turtle with a shell that glows and plays wave music, and it makes it look like water up on the ceiling and stuff. And so we turn that on, so that's the only light. And then I nurse her, and I usually nurse her to sleep and then lay her in the crib. The bedtime routine is just that. It's just bath time or straight to PJs, story time, and then bed. She's been co-sleeping with us pretty much since she's born. There were like a couple of short stretches where she did sleep in the bassinet, and she did okay with that, but the majority of the time she's been sleeping with us, and I love it that way. And, you know, it's been really nice, and we really enjoy it, but we just, she's behind me. We just want to make sure that since 6 months is like the age to kind of start doing this, because they're learning, you know, cause and effect and building habits, and we want her to have healthy sleeping habits, and we don't want her to be too dependent on us to be able to fall asleep, because I don't want it to create problems farther along. So Friday night was our first try with one of the methods we looked up, which basically was just to go through our bedtime routine, lay her down, get her ready for bed even if she's not already asleep, and then leave the room and wait 5 minutes before going in if she's crying and still awake. Soothe her, try to make her feel a little bit better, but pretty quickly, not spending too much time in there, and then leaving again, waiting 10 minutes, going back in if she's still crying, soothing her, leaving again, going back in after 20 minutes, and so on and so forth. We did not make it past the 20-minute mark. It was way too close to crying it out than I expected it to be, and it was hard. I mean, I know that it was going to be hard, and I know I have to be strong if it's what's best for her, but it just didn't feel right to me. And I had to follow my own instincts for my own family situation and my own baby, and it just didn't feel right. She was hysterical and crying and screaming the whole time. I was crying my eyes out. My husband was watching the monitor like a hawk, and it just, by the time we got to the 20-minute mark, we just called it, went and got her, and brought her to bed with us, and she calmed down and went right to sleep in bed with us. And so that night, because it was so stressful and it wasn't really what we were expecting, we decided that we were gonna stop. We weren't gonna try it again. We were gonna take a week before we try anything, like another like actual method again. And we were gonna continue trying to have her sleep in the crib, but we weren't gonna be trying any crazy methods. We were just gonna do whatever we needed to do to get her to sleep, whether that's holding her and hushing her and singing to her and patting her butt and all the things you're not supposed to do because you're supposed to let them fall asleep on their own. We were just gonna do whatever we needed to do to get her to sleep and put her in the crib. And then if she woke up in the middle of the night and couldn't get back to sleep in the crib, we'd just bring her to bed with us. And that was our plan. Our plan was basically no plan. We wanted to give ourselves a week so that we could do some research, go to the library, get some books. Like the Sleep Lady was one that was recommended to us, and there was a couple others I just can't remember the names of. And we wanted to go look at those books and see if we could get more methods and have a whole bunch of them, a whole bunch of different things to try already there. So we'd have like a plan and a backup plan, a backup plan, and a backup plan. And then we would try one on a Friday. Every Friday night we'll try a new one if the previous one isn't working. And then if it doesn't work, then we'll stop, give ourselves a week, try again on the next Friday. So this past Friday was the first time that we tried it with the 5-minute, 10-minute, 20-minute. Didn't work. So Saturday night, we did our normal bedtime routine, and we laid her down, and she fell asleep nursing, put her in the crib. She stayed asleep. We left, and it was only about 30 to 45 minutes before she woke up again. And so I went in there and I calmed her down, put her pacifier in, and I just had a chair next to the crib, and I just sat in the chair so that she could see me. And as long as she knew that I was there, even if I wasn't touching her, or even if I wasn't looking at her, which I tried not to, I didn't want to have like eye contact because then she gets all smiley and awake and crazy. So I didn't even look at her. I would just sit in the crib, and if she started fussing or crying, or if the pacifier came out and she couldn't find it to put it back in, I would, you know, help her out or put my hand on her. And I did that, and I was in there for almost 2 hours sitting there next to the crib, and she was so close, so close. And she kept like kind of falling asleep and then waking herself up and then falling asleep and then waking herself up. And it was like, I think if I just stayed in there, eventually it would have worked, but it was already going on 2 hours. And I actually had a church thing on in the morning, like an early church thing. So I had to get up even earlier than normal. And so we ended up just taking her out, bring her back to bed with us, which was fine because our plan was no plan. And she didn't cry really the whole time that we were doing it. She just kind of fussed a little bit here and there, but I was happy. As long as she wasn't crying and hysterical, I was happy. And she wasn't sleeping in the crib after all the time sitting there, so we went back to bed. She went to sleep right away, of course, and that was that. And then last night was Sunday night, and we did the same thing, went through our bedtime routine, nursed her to sleep, laid her in the crib asleep, and she slept there until 2:45 a.m. And then she woke up, I nursed her again, put her back in the crib, right to sleep. Went back to my bed, woke up at 7:30, when she woke up at 7:30, and that was the start of our day. So it was such a huge difference last night, with such a success in my mind. I know that it could have just been a fluke, and we'll have to see how it goes and figure out if we're gonna keep doing the no plan or if we're gonna try something else come Friday. But right now, I mean, if it continues on the way that it did last night, then we are good. I got to sleep from 7:30 to 2:45. Well, I didn't sleep at 7:30. She slept from 7:30 to 2:45 a.m. It was huge. She hasn't done that since she was 2 months old. And the fact that she stayed in the crib the whole night was like a huge victory for us. So we're just gonna keep on doing that. I think I'll probably make another video to update on how tonight goes. Tomorrow I'll make the video on to update on how tonight goes to see if there's any difference or if it continues on the happy path. Otherwise I'll probably make videos to update on the new methods that we use if we do end up having to resort to the other methods. Our ultimate goal is transitioning to the crib and sleeping through the night with no tears. So it'll be hard, it'll be long, unless this works like it did last night, but I'll do whatever it takes for my baby. So I hope this was helpful. If not, then I hope it was at least nice to hear somebody else's method and know that you're not alone if you're going through the same thing that we are. I definitely don't regret co-sleeping. It's been a wonderful experience, and I plan on doing it with my next child, and I'd love to do it again in the future once she establishes healthy sleeping habits. If she wants to come back and sleep with us, I'll be more than happy. But right now, this is what we're doing, and I hope this was helpful. Thanks. Can you smile for the camera? We chewing on our hands? Yay! Say bye-bye, everybody.